right, guys, welcome to episode number 9 of Forged in the Fire. This show was specifically designed to hear from people who are high achievers because life and success are not linear journeys. Our guests will be sharing their journeys of how they have walked through fire to be forged into their best selves, the same way a blacksmith forges a lump of steel into a sword. So I've got my buddy Austin here with me, and I'm really excited to dive into his story, kind of telling you a little bit about him. He is also a podcast host, and he is a mindset mentor, as well as he's done a lot of stuff in real estate and now is into buying businesses. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
So we'll kind of rewind it way back, and then we'll go into, because we've talked a little bit about you getting into the business side of things now, and I want to start from the beginning before we get there.
Mm-hmm.
So where'd you grow up? What was your childhood like?
Um, my childhood was interesting. I didn't realize this till about a year ago because I didn't speak to my dad for 20 years. And my dad was like the first entrepreneur I ever met. Like he borrowed a bunch of money from my great grandfather to pay for dental equipment, and he bought this shop and he was telling me the story the other day that everybody said, "Oh, it's the don't buy in that part of town. It's not grown up yet," and all that stuff. And like kind of started over here, and then he, moved over there. And like as we got older, like the house kept getting bigger, and the neighborhood kept getting nicer. And then we moved from that part of town to that part of town. I didn't really know what was going on, right? But we had a good life. We had a maid, and at the end there, right before my parents got divorced, we lived on the golf course across from Robert Ory, Avery Johnson, Shaquille O'Neal lived in the neighborhood. Like it was a nice house. Nothing crazy, but it was a nice house. Country club, the whole nine. And my school, my high school was, I think it's the top rated public school in, like, one of the top 5 in Texas. Like super smart, extremely wealthy, like First Colony where I grew up in Houston and in Texas. Supposedly that community makes up 1% of the GDP, like of all the world. Like that it was just like a really athletes, surgeons, like all it was very competitive, very, but I found the people to be massively fake and terrible humans and not happy at all, and it really warped my sense of what wealth was. You have to be, in order to be wealthy, you have to be miserable and you have to hate your wife. And that's what I was around. I'm an empath. At a kid, I didn't know. When my parents, when I was getting in so much trouble, and my parents came to me on my 17th birthday, and they said, "Look, you need to go to military school, or you need to go to Beaumont." And I was like, "Well, I don't know where Beaumont is, but it sounds better than military school, so I'll go there." And so that was where my parents grew up, was Beaumont. And so I went out there, and 3 months into me being out there, my parents came to me out of the blue. I've never seen them fight. I never see any of that stuff. They said, "Oh, we're getting divorced." And me moving my mom there, I internalized, this was, I caused my parents' divorce. I'm such a bad kid that I caused my parents' divorce. And that's kind of the seed of 20 years of meth and alcohol addiction, and walking through the fire, really, this podcast, walking through just pain and turmoil of searching for acceptance and not loving myself, and still to this day learning how to love myself even more. um Kind of started, people joke, they say, "Oh, you hit rock bottom." Well, like, I've hit rock bottom like 8 times, and the bottom's really hard to find. Like, it's just, I mean, at some point you think, but I'm really fucking stubborn. And there are moments, there are times where you're coming up. But here's what's interesting about rock bottom. It's actually extremely freeing, because there's never another way in life that you get to leave everything behind that you don't want and just start again.
Mm-hmm.
Only in rock bottom. And only because I'm 4.5 years sober now, and my life has changed and all this stuff, can I look at that now and go, there's some grace, there's some joy in just ripping it apart. And I think if you look at society now, we hang on to identities too long through seasons of change, wanting to not change.
Yep.
Right. And I think if we just come to the fact, the realization that um, life is about seasons and it's about learning and, you know, fucking, I hated school, hated it. I found no purpose of it. It was stupid as shit. I have a photographic memory. I dropped out of college 3 times. I got jumped when I was in college the first time. I was making straight A's in college. I got jumped. I was in the wrong place, wrong time. Not my fight. These guys broke into our apartment. They were there was so it was 3 dudes, 8 girls, and they broke into our apartment. We're fucked up on drugs. They're on drugs. They've got a fucking shotgun in their hand. Yeah, it's a whole thing, dude. And like all I wanted to do was get them out of the apartment because there was girls in there. And so I went into my room and I grabbed my Louisville Slugger and I was walking out the door just to scare them to leave. Well, what I didn't know is one of the guys was in on the patio. And so as I'm walking out the front door, he comes barreling through the apartment and spears me in the back. And I had on a yellow Abercrombie sweater and my head hit the concrete. And that's when I go unconscious. And that's when 4 dudes took my Louisville Slugger and beat me. I mean, I'm surprised I could still walk, beat me. They broke every bone on the right side of my face. They put a hole through my gum. My eyelid was hanging down to here. They beat me up with my bat. And all the next thing I know, I woke up with my entire sweater that was yellow was red. And I was just bleeding everywhere. My roommates, like the cops came, and I still remember this. The the uh, the uh, the ambulance was like, "Hey, we need to take you to the hospital." And I go, "Well, how much is this? How much is that going to cost?" He goes, $500. I go, "No, I'm good." So my guy drives me there, calls my mom. My mom thinks the whole ride up there, my mom has to drive 4 hours. The whole ride up there, my mom thinks that I had a DUI. And so I hear her coming around the corner. By the way, I'm barely like hanging in there. And she's like, "You mother," she's coming around you motherfucker, blah, blah, blah. Well, what happened was they mixed my charge to the guy next to me. And it said I took a bunch of Xanax and was driving in the chart. And she was reading it and she's like, "You mother." And I was like, "Mom, I swear that wasn't me." And the doctor was like, "Oh my God, ma'am, I'm sorry. We switched charts." And and
That's
so like all this went on, right? So I'm there for like 12 hours and I'm like, "Hey, I got to go to school. Like, I got to go to school like uh, tomorrow. Like, hey, we need to like wrap this up." And she's like, "Have you looked at yourself?" And I was like, "What?" And so like she rings me in the bathroom and actually just found the pictures for the first time 2 weeks ago. I'd never seen them. And dude, I mean, I'm just I mean, you can't even see my face. And so that was kind of like one of the things that I never really addressed was that whole thing, which was a court case for 2 years and all this stuff. And thank God my dad's a doctor. I got, surgery quick and all that stuff. But those are the things that happen, along with a meth addiction and homelessness and all these different things that really shape, who you are and and how you present yourself to the world.
When was that happened? Was that like right before you got sober, or was that
No, that was 18.
2000?
That was like my first like semester in college.
Oh, you were 18 at the time.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. And what happened was I decided to go back to school like 6 months after that happened, and I just mentally wasn't there. And then I quit school again, and then I'm beating myself up because I quit school again instead of taking the time I needed, right? Because I need to go in college and I need to do this, right? And so that's when I kind of moved into the restaurant business, full time and sold wine and all that stuff, and kind of got stuck there for 18 years. And then so as we sit today, as we're recording this, I've been sober for 4 years and a month, right? So at 36 was when I got sober. So I'm 40 now. And so, you know, there's a lot of, and I don't mean this to like put anybody on blast, but there's a lot of people that are alcoholics that say they aren't alcoholics.
Oh yeah. That's, I
I
mean,
get guys sober every day. alcohol is a readily available drug that's everywhere, and we act like we're not masking ourselves. And I rarely talk this direct about it, but I'm just sick of it. I'm sick of the mediocre shit that people are doing, saying they want to watch football on a Sunday, but they're really just wanting to get drunk.
Yeah, I mean, I truthfully, like I've never really been like a big football guy, so I can't relate to like the whole like desire
Yeah.
to sit there and watch football for hours on end. I used to
Mm-hmm.
watch like when I was big into like snowboarding, I would watch like the X Games and that kind of
Mm-hmm.
stuff, but never really understood the whole like thing with football. But that's kind of also made me like an outcast to most people because
Yeah.
they talk to me about football and I'm like my eyes glaze over. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Who's this Jimmy Carter guy? What? I know the teams, but I don't
Yeah.
know anything else about it.
Well, and I rarely take that stance, and I don't know why I did just now. I rarely take that stance because it's not for me to tell you whether or not you need to get sober, because I don't care. That's for you to determine.
Mm-hmm.
But my question is very simple to anybody I ever meet. Are, are you doing everything that you could? That's a simple question. It's because I care and I want to see you be the best version of yourself. That's all. It's
Yep.
not, I'm not telling you what to do. I've got a 52-year-old man that's been an alcoholic for 30 years. He's on his third divorce. And I've never once, ever once asked him to quit drinking, yet he barely drinks anymore. How is that? How have I never asked him? Because it's not for me to tell that man how to live his life. It's for me to give him different perspectives
Mm-hmm.
and different mindset tricks to create, where he doesn't want to.
Right. Yeah, and
That's the smart way. Yeah.
to piggyback off that, you're absolutely right. Like you can't force somebody to do something they don't want to, especially stubborn people like you and I. Like
Mm-hmm.
when I was going through a bunch of hell in high school, and my mom was like, "Oh, weed is so bad. You need to stop doing that." And putting, I mean, I went to rehab three times. I'm not afraid to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Two of them were outpatient, but like I was still either during the middle or the end of it, I found my way back to weed, and I was like, whatever, fuck you guys.
Yeah.
And I was also like, fuck you, mom, which is horrible. But I truthfully, like, I feel so bad because I put that woman through absolute hell. And RIP, rest her soul. But you can't force somebody to do something they don't want to. They have to be the one that wants to make the change. It's like that old saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. And that's absolutely true with not only just decisions, but also, substances and how that
Mm-hmm.
plays into their decision. Because one thing that I've heard it is you can be a human with values, but the second a substance comes in, the substance values take over everything in your life.
Yeah. The default mechanism is to I was just talking to a buddy just a minute ago. Somewhere in life, I don't know if it's social media or something like that, but we sold everybody that success and like growth is like easy. It's like, dude, one of the times, one of my favorite things Ed Milet ever said is he said, your level of success will be predicated on the fact that you're comfortable with uncertainty. It's
Yeah.
the truth.
Yeah.
You know, it's so much easier. True growth to me is described very simply. You're walking in a hallway with no door handles and the lights are off. And you have to walk long enough to trust yourself long enough till the lights turn on and the door handle shows itself. But those 10 steps, those 20 steps, those 30 steps, they're going to feel like they're 170.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And it's so easy to turn back. It's so easy to go in the relationship that doesn't serve you anymore. It's so easy to go hang out with a friend that's not a positive influence.
Mm-hmm.
It's so easy to stay at the job too long because nobody's questioning you. I did it. I should have left selling wine and cocktails 5 years earlier. But guess what? I was at the top of the heap and nobody asked shit out of me because I was the number one salesman. I was the number one beer buyer in the state of Texas. Nobody asked, where we were in San Antonio, nobody asked me of anything. But then I started getting some masterminds around dudes that had like 130 units and 40 Airbnbs and they were flying to here. And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. wait, I'm in the wrong, I'm in the wrong arena. And
Mhm.
my favorite thing, and I don't know why I'm bringing him up all of a sudden. I haven't even listened to him in like months. But Ed Milet was in a group at one of my mentors' events, and he was with 100 millionaires, and he straight up says to them, "Yeah, you're successful compared to who? Not compared to me, motherfuckers." And everybody goes, "Whoop, you're right. Holy shit!" And
Dude.
it's like, you know,
Yeah. And to that point, to piggyback also off of that one, I listened to this one of Ed Milet's like talks that he gave to people that are in door-to-door sales. And he
yeah,
goes, yeah, you listen, or you guys think you're fat and cozy with your 100, 200, 300, 400,000 measly dollars a year. Not to be disrespectful, but that wouldn't pay my jet fuel. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna sit the fuck down
dude.
because
it's just
wow,
it's, it's
okay.
just it's just good because what he's not see what people they take wrong there. He's not even flaunting how much money he has. He's merely saying don't let your ego walk through the door before you do.
Yep, 100%.
And that's where people get it wrong. He's not even flaunting. He's just mainly saying, you know, look, dude, I've interviewed, I mean, dude, I've done like 800 podcasts, probably like 600, and I'm about to start another one. I interviewed billionaires. I interviewed the mindset coach for the Atlanta, Alabama, football team. I've interviewed Major League Hall of Fame baseball players. The number one skill that I pulled from them is they're forever curious. They always have a notepad and they're always asking questions and they're learning, no matter how successful they are.
That's interesting. That makes me think of somebody. My old business partner Nick. Anytime we'd be at an event, he'd be there with his notepad and like writing down stuff. And I think he's doing well now. I ran into
Mm-hmm.
him recently, um, but that was one of the things I would always like laugh. But I also was kind of like, he's smart for doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I just have like a photographic memory. I can write
Yeah,
it.
me too.
I can keep that in my head. And then when I'm on like a walk by myself, then I just put it all down in my notes. But
Mm-hmm.
lately I've been kind of changing that where, especially if I'm like in church or something like that, I'll take my phone out and then I put down like my highlights.
Yeah. So one of the things that 2 weeks ago I was golfing with two of my most successful friends. One owns, a $4 million land business. The other guy owns a bunch of businesses, does like 50 million a year, broker. And we're going to play golf. It's like 8 o'clock. We're going to play this country club. By the way, not to get off on a tangent, but best investment you could ever make in your entire life is join a country club. Bro,
Really?
we played with a guy on a Tuesday in the middle of the day who sold his company for 85 million and he staked professional poker players for a living. That was his fucking job.
What?
Yeah, dude, it was crazy. And then the next day he played with the guy who took Jamba Juice to $200 million. Like, dude, yeah,
Wait.
yeah. Dude, I don't know his name, so don't ask me. But that's not the point of the story. The point of the story is he sends his phone on forwarding, and I'm like, "What was that?" And he goes, "Well, I just forwarded all my calls and my messages to my chief of staff, so I can enjoy your time."
Mm.
And I got like 15 phone calls during the round, and he like pulls me aside afterwards. He's like, "Dude, this ain't gonna work." And so that day he goes, "Oh, I actually know somebody's looking for a job." So I hired her like that spot on the spot, chief of staff. Let's go. Let's go to work. And so what we've been doing is we have a company call, like a Slack channel, right? Where we talk. We have different channels. She takes everything out of there for the week, formulates it in an email, and then I send it out to the other owners. And so I don't have to track down anything for the week. I just throw it in there. She pulls it apart. And it's like now I can look at this crazy week I had where I'm hiring people left and right and we're doing this and I meet with the city council. And it's been it's early, it's 2 weeks in, but I feel like a new person. I to have somebody in the trenches with you that's catching, like I call it, like, lack of a better word, loose change. Like, it's just easy that you're not going to miss anything, right? Because that's the bigger thing is. And so those little things like that. But I want to share a story about, because Forge in the Fire makes me think of this one moment in time for me. I'm gonna go into real storytell mode here because it's I remember this day like it was everything. Okay. So I don't think people understand how much energy and raw anger it takes to I drank every day for 8 to 10 years. Every fucking day. Not like kind of drink, not like get hammered, but I drank every fucking day for 8.5 years, 10 years. So I was a couple I was a couple of months sober, and I was working something like that. And I was working in Austin. Oh yeah, I took a new job for the private equity firm, and I was working in Austin. They put me up at a hotel for training. And in a lot of those months when I was getting sober, I was listening to Gary Vee at like 2 a.m., 3 a.m., just trying to reprogram my mind, like trying to rebuild my mindset. And it was like 40 degrees in Austin, which anywhere else that's like 20, it's cold as shit. And so I couldn't sleep. And so I went out for a walk at like 3 a.m. and I found this high school. And they had a baseball field and they had a football field and they had a soccer field. And it was really nice, artificial. It was amazing. So there's nobody out there. There's no lights. There's no nothing. And I said, I'm going to run till I'm not angry anymore. I'm going to run until I have the fight is left me. And so I took off my shirt and I ran for 4 hours.
God damn.
It was so cold. I could still feel my red chest. And I listened, no bullshit. I listened to Imagine Dragons only, screaming at the top of my fucking lungs, beating my fucking chest. I swear to God, I wish somebody like had a video of me. But I'm sitting there having this recommitment to myself, this like letting go of like that crap, letting and just man, it was like it was such a visceral experience. And I was tired, but I was just so tired of my own bullshit. And I feel like that moment in time was really me reintroducing myself out of the fire and that toxicity and that bullshit that I was spewing to myself, to dedicate my life to growth and myself. And I swear I remember that moment like it was yesterday. It was just one of those times and places that you'll never get back. And it was a really groundbreaking kind of moment for me to reclaim my life.
I love that. Putting yourself in like I mean, running for that long is real uncomfortable. You
Yeah.
definitely had to
Yeah.
beat
And I
stuff.
don't like running. So just
I don't either. I don't either. People ask me, they're like, "Are you a runner?" I'm like, "Hell no. If I run like 2 miles, my shins burn. I'm on fire."
yeah, 100%.
I want to backtrack a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You talked about some of the anger. You also talked about, going from that first story that you were telling us about of, getting the absolute shit beat out of you with, or, with a bat, and then going into the restaurant industry. And I'm curious on a couple things. One, what was that journey like? What was next after that? And how'd you find your way into restaurants? What was that like? And the second thing I want to know is, what was the thing you were so angry about? You mentioned your parents' divorce, but there had to have been something else for you to beat yourself up for that long.
Um, I don't know. I think that I was really misunderstood as a kid. I think that I have a ton of energy. Um, and I think that day and age, and that's my joke is like everything they talk shit on me, they champion me for now, right? Oh, you talk to anybody, you're life of the party, you have great energy, right? Um, I feel like I was really misunderstood by my guidance counselors, by people. When you're, now, right? Entrepreneurship is just everywhere. It's Gary Vee and it's everywhere. But back then it was you got to go to college and you got to do this, and nothing felt right. It didn't feel right. And I feel like they kept trying to shove me in this like box. And if you know me at all, I absolutely can't stand boxes. Like fucking can't stand them. Like the deals we do with owners on these businesses are like so out of the box, and it's creative, and I love that aspect of it, right? And my parents grew up in the restaurant business too. And so it was very familiar with me. But I found some ruffians. I found some crazies, right? They were a bunch of Looney Tunes. Yeah. I mean, it was wild. It was awesome. There was no rules. It was fucking crazy as shit. We made ass loads of money. I wish I had any of that money back. I made so much money, and you couldn't tell me nothing. I was making, dude, I didn't have a degree. I dropped out of college twice. I was making like, at that time, I was making like 14 to 1800 bucks a week. And I was just working like 4 or 5 days a week. To me, that was like, dude, my rent was like 600 bucks. Like I was just printing money. Right. And so, you couldn't tell me anything. And then you just get kind of lost in that world for a long time. The restaurant business and alcohol and wine sales is very romantic. Right. The aspects of it. I've been to Burgundy, France. I've been to Napa. I've been all the places. I'm still romantic about it to this day. But it's a class made of ruffians and lost people. I mean, that's just what it is. And then you find other lost people to commiserate with, and then boom, here you are, and you wake up, a long time. They were my family, and I basically left my household at like 17, and my friends became my family. And just now I'm trying to reconnect with my family, which is so weird that me and my dad actually like hang out. And so it's like the other way, like my friends, it's like whatever you need, like come over, stay. And so, for me, it's like relearning what family is and stuff like that. So I think I was just always searching for, you know, um, a connection. But, I've coached 16 people a week for, 4.5 years. It's really simple. You can boil every fucking problem, addiction, victimhood, not playing small. You can all boil them down to one thing and one thing only. It's self-love. It's self-love. People don't believe they deserve what they deserve because somebody along somewhere, somebody asked on Twitter the other day, in 3 words, what keeps people from investing? Somebody else's opinion.
True.
That's it. And I was at Dallas. I was at an entrepreneurship meetup. There was like 200 of us buying businesses, shit like that, right? And I was telling like the guy, I'm like, oh, we're gonna go to like 10 bill, 10 billion. We're gonna launch this school. We're gonna do this. And he goes, man, your give a fuck is just gone. he's like, you just don't give a fuck. He's like, and you can see it so clear. And it's the truth. I just don't care anymore. Like I just don't care because. And people are like, what, why are you in such a hurry? I'm like, because for fucking 36 years of my life, I was living in mediocrity. Like, I got the people around me. I got people that are getting on board with the vision. We're excited. I'm excited. It's crazy town. I've hired fucking 14 people in the last 5 weeks. It is nuts. I'm going to double the revenue of this company in 1 year. Like, does anybody understand? I only have to buy this one company and create net cash flow. Like, give me 2 years and we could basically all retire off this one company. Like, how does that not fire you the fuck up? Right. And yeah, it's scary. And yeah, I got to spend $50,000 on, shelving for the vans and tax and title. And that makes me want to throw up in my mouth. But guess what? Each one of those vans are going to make me 350 grand to 400 grand. Who gives a shit? Right. And so when you start putting it in perspectives that people can understand, guys, you got to understand, I've read a lot of books. I've been in masterminds. You get around enough people to understand these things. So I'm moving through it quickly. But wherever you are right now, I don't care who you are and I don't care how much money you're making, you're playing small. It's really simple. Yeah. Because there are no limits that exist in this world. And that's just the truth. And so what I do is I wake up every day and I tell myself that Gary Vee thinks he's playing small and we got shit to do.
I love it. You were talking about getting sucked into the restaurant industry, which is actually so true because it's you have that instant gratification. It's not your crock pot money like Maddie talks about. It's your microwave money. You can go make $200, $300 a night, and it's really hard to leave that. I think it's great, and I truthfully am of the belief that I think everyone should work in service and 100%, retail 100%. When they're younger. 100%. They will learn their manners. They will learn how to work hard. They'll learn how to manage a lot of different things at once, and, manage
Mhm.
your tables, have to roll silverware, have to check out people on their tables, and also deal with unhappy people, because you'll deal with a lot of people that, they can come in wearing their Rolexes and their really nice clothing and everything like that, but they treat you like shit. And you have to learn how to build that thick skin
Yeah.
while you're in that.
Dude,
I don't
I got to tell you a story. I haven't even told you this
hold on,
story.
let me
Yeah.
finish.
Dude, it's driving me
And
crazy.
so I'm of the belief that I think everybody should do that, but do it for a season. I think there's a season of
Yeah.
your life that you should work in the retail and the service businesses, especially while you're young and you're going through college, but do not get sucked into that. I fortunately jumped out of it early. I was still in it for, I think, 3 years that I was in it. Made great money. I was really young. I
Mhm.
was happy as a pig in shit. I mean, I could make $200 to $1,000 in a
Yep.
night, and my rent, like you were saying, cheap. It was $400 a month. Didn't really have any responsibilities. I was going through college, and it was great. But there comes a time where you have to grow up and evolve into the next thing. So that's
So
my belief about it. Go ahead.
So I spent 20 years in this space, and I for the last 2 years, I'm saying to myself, like, what a waste of time. 20 years, right? Not to the fact that I can talk to anybody and met millions of people from all over the world. But that's not the story that cracks me up. So the company we're closing on in 2 weeks, I'm sitting here telling me, oh, your restaurant business is such a waste of time. So I fly up here, he accepts the LOI, I get in the car, we rent the car, we drive an hour and 45 minutes. I'm nervous as I'm just like literally can't breathe. I'm so nervous. I'm meeting the seller for the first time at his house. We're trying to buy his $4 million company. I don't know what's going on. I don't even know what I'm talking about, to be honest with you, but he likes me and likes the software. So I'm like, oh my God, what? You're a fucking bartender now. You're buying companies. What the fuck is going on? And I, dude, I swear to God, I swear to God, I open up the door of his kitchen, like lounge area. There's 700 bottles of wine on his wine cellar. I walked right up and go, oh yeah, this is my favorite wine. I sold a ton of it. Blah blah blah. I go into this 30-minute. Oh yeah, have you been to this place? Have you been to this place? Boom, just like that. He loves me.
Were you a sommelier?
Yeah, I mean we basically yeah,
Okay.
but like it was like the most full circle moment of my entire existence, that the comfort of like being able to talk about that in the first couple of minutes. And he was like, he told me like afterwards, he met with him for like 2.5 hours. He's like, if I wouldn't like you, I'd have kicked you out of my house. And so like he's just old school, dude. And so like I was like, man, wow, 20 years. And what am I gonna use this for? Boom. There you go. And I think that's life, just making a little joke, making a little joke at you saying, yeah, it was all worth it.
It's so funny because you get prepared at every season in your life for what's next, even if it's not what's next, but what's next, you get prepared for that.
Yeah.
For instance, um, so I don't know if you saw my Instagram story, but I had to tear one of my bathrooms out. And I've remodeled houses, done all that, managed all the construction. I haven't really swung a hammer all that much since I was a kid, when I was doing like masonry work and working with landscaping companies, and also started doing this at 11 years old, demoing and doing construction
Mm-hmm.
with my mom. Well, day before my mom's birthday, which the story there, of everything that went on with my mom, but the day before my mom's birthday, I happened to notice this leak that was in my bathroom at home, and it was wrecking my floorboards. I'm like, God damn it. All right, rip up the floors. I'm like, all right. Well, the water's everywhere. I don't know if it's under the shower too. Lacey leaves for a little bit. She comes home a couple hours later from the dog park, and the fucking shower is completely gone. Like, I ripped the whole shower out, which threw me back to when I was a kid. And I was demoing, pulling walls out with my mom. Well, I'm now putting the shower back. I could hire it out, but for some reason, I want to take this on as like a passion project. I want to teach myself how to tile. I've
Yeah.
tiled like a long time ago floors, but I've never tiled walls. I've never actually built a shower, but I've done masonry work. I think
Hmm.
I'm good. I think I got it. But
Hmm.
kind of a little demonstration, like life prepares you at one
Hmm.
season for another one later on, even if it's not what you want to do for your work, but you get
Yeah.
prepared walking through that and learning about it.
My joke is the better you get at cooking, the farther you get away from the kitchen. You know, and as we grow our businesses and scale, we get away from the stuff that make us happy. And so that tiling that thing is every time you walk in that bathroom, you're going to see it and you're going to feel it and you're going to take pride in it.
Yeah.
Dude, look, dude, we could grow to $100 million, $100 million company, and we will, right? But let me tell you something. Nothing will give me more joy than mowing grass. I don't care if I'm worth like 20 bill. I'll be out there on my riding lawnmower and just smiling from ear to ear. Dude, there's something about the peace of that and the simplicity of there's grass, it needs mowing, and when I mow it, it looks great.
I'm curious, did you have like a lawn mowing business or like did you mow lawns
No,
when you were
but
a
I
kid?
love it, dude. Just we went up to Idaho to visit friends, and the son comes walking downstairs, and he's got like, oh, I gotta do my chores. I gotta go mow the 2 acres. And I was like, what? No. And I whipped out $20 and I go, here's your chores. I got it. And everybody took a nap. And I just put on headphones and I just mowed that whole thing. It was so amazing. Like, I know it sounds so ridiculous. I'm not the only one, too. I've heard this from some other guys. It's just like, certain little things, man. Because think about it this way: as you continue to grow and scale what we are, I have 30 employees, right? Just in one business. There's not a lot I get to do. Most of my meetings are with lawyers, vendors, suppliers, insurance people. It's pretty boring, dude. But like, guess what? We're doing tomorrow on Thursday. We're doing excavating. Oh, I'm gonna be there. Not that I'm gonna touch the stuff, but like, it's like kind of plumbing company and like all that stuff is like you get back to the childhood stuff. You get to have a little fun, you get to dig some stuff. Dude,
Mhm.
we're taking the guys out on Monday. One of the other owners is flying in. We're taking them out for the first like team building thing, whatever you want to call it. We're gonna shoot AR-15s to explosives. I'm like,
Tannerite.
dude, yeah. And I'm like, okay. They're like, yeah. They're like, and like my mentor was like, can I come work for you? He's like, this is amazing. I'm like, but like we have to forget, like I'm saying this to myself. We gotta forget that this stuff's supposed to be fun. It doesn't need to be, and in those moments when they don't really want to, they'll remember that moment and they'll be happy to walk in shit in boots. They've told me some stories about plumbing stuff that I'm like, I'm good. So yeah, no thanks.
So I'm curious, and this might be the thing of like getting sober, but what was the hardest thing that you had to overcome in your life?
Hard drugs, meth and cocaine. It's an extremely hard drug to kick. Um, if I'm being honest, it it's probably the only time I felt normal. I felt zoned in. I felt focused. I'm super ADHD. That was hard. But the hardest thing in my life was making the decision to leave my wife, my ex-wife.
Um,
We had a bunch of property together. Her dad was basically my dad. Her brother was my best friend. I could have easily, and I did for years, I could have easily just gone with the flow and not rock the boat, but I wasn't happy. And I would venture to guess that what I'm saying right now, and I could have easily said alcohol, resonates more with anybody that's listening right now, is that they give their partner the benefit of the doubt too much. she gave up on herself and she gave up on us. And when you lose respect for your spouse, there's no getting it back. And for the last 6 years, our marriage 13 years. For the last 6 years, I was so unhappy. I used to have dreams about like getting divorced. Just so much stuff. Tried to separate a couple times. And now, I'm engaged to the most amazing woman in the entire world. And she frustrates the shit out of me. And she's right over my left shoulder because she cares about me so goddamn much that she loves me. And I'm stubborn as shit. But I never felt that type of love, that person that gives that much, that cares that much about you. And it's so nice. And it's such a departure from what I did have, that having that person in your corner makes you unstoppable. Like what you're seeing now is because I have the love of a great woman that cares about me, supports me, that moves out to fucking Pennsylvania because she loves me and doesn't give a shit. Right? I didn't know the fuck I was gonna live in Pennsylvania. I don't even know what the fuck I'm doing here. I love it here. I think I might run for mayor. I don't even know. You think I'm joking? I met with the Chamber of Commerce today, but this is my message, and I've got two clients right now who are in marriages that just don't serve them, and they can't bring themselves to do it. I have a good friend. You've met him, Sal, and he said to me, "You have an opportunity to relive your life. You're only 37. It's up to you. And when you're 50, who do you want to be with and what do you want to be? That's your decision right now." And sacking up to really separate from her, because I had like four other options. I had four other times that I could have done it, was 50 times harder than getting sober, because I had to lose everything. And when I mean everything, I'm talking home, my dog. I took on all the debt. She got the house. I had 7 boxes to my name. Like, but it was so badass that, and I mean this wholeheartedly, badass, and I'm using it on purpose. I got in the car to drive from San Antonio to Austin, which is north 70 miles, and I drove to California. And nobody was texting me, and I didn't have to be anywhere. And everybody asked me, because I traveled for 9 months straight in a car visiting friends, and they asked me, they said, "Who are you fucking traveling with?" And I said, "Man, it's this fucking kick-ass motherfucker named Austin Linney. And I'm going to get to know him again."
Did you feel like you lost like your sense of self or were alone with her? Is that what caused the catalyst to have to leave?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of things for sure.
You don't have to know all of them.
But no. Yeah, but no, there was a lot of things. I think that I never talk about my divorce. This is like the first time I ever talked. Um, I I was I was being put down, and I wasn't being supported, and I didn't fit in her world and what she wanted out of life. And it wasn't, and I mean this, God, I remember this moment like it was yesterday. We were driving to Christmas at her parents' house. We got in a huge fight. And for the first time, I was 36 years old. For the first time in my entire fucking life, I said to her out loud, "I am going to go change the world. Get the fuck on board, get the fuck off. That's it. Simple as that." And it was the first time I ever admitted out loud that I wanted something more than what we were currently living. And in my opinion, that was the seed that planted 3 months later was the separation. Uh, we did a lot of things that she was comfortable with, and she had a little social anxiety and some other stuff, which what had happened is that I had tried everything with her. ayahuasca, mushrooms, therapy, clozapam, everything that exists on the planet. I've tried. I tried with her. I was riding my bike like 50 miles and it hit me. I stopped my bike. And I said, nothing is going to fix this marriage because the problem is our marriage. I'm going here and she doesn't want to go here. And her trying to hang on to me to keep me down here is what's her anxiety and killing me. And the moment that we got divorced, she's never had a panic attack again. She lost a bunch of weight. She's the happiest she's ever been. And I lost 80 pounds. Like, we were both lying to ourselves, playing a bad game of poker. And it's pain. And you have to understand, we owned a lot of real estate together. There was a lot of shit. I had to be very surgical about our divorce. It was during COVID. It was a whole fucking thing. And she told me all the time, she's like, you don't give a fuck about us. You don't care. And I was like, look, you don't know me. I was like, you don't know what's happening to me at night when I'm by myself, when I'm listening to the same song 10 times in a row, crying my fucking eyes out. You don't know what the fuck what's going on with me. I said, but we have a responsibility to get out of these homes, all these things, as quick as possible and seamless and not rip apart each other, But I knew that she only cared about one thing and one thing only, because her thing is stability. And I gave her our house because I knew that losing us and losing the house was too much for her. And so I had 150,000 worth of equity in there and I gave it to her, just gave it to her. And when I left Texas, her brother asked me to coffee. And he said, let me tell you something, young man. He said, man to man, not my sister. That's the most selfless fucking thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Thank you. And I was in a hot tub in Tahoe with my mentor. And he looked me dead in the face and he says, don't you fight for that house. Don't you fucking do it. He goes, you're going to be fighting for 3 fucking years. It's going to cloud everything you're trying to do. And that 150 grand that you're going to lose, you're going to make it 40 times over if you just let it go. And I did. It's the greatest thing I ever did in my life.
Wow. So for the listeners, we're not saying that glorifying divorce. We're glorifying the fact that when you're in something that's incompatible, and I'm sorry, Cassie, that she's in the background hearing that.
Oh, she can't hear. She's got headphones on.
Okay. Anywho, but if she does ever listen to this, I'm sorry. We're not sitting over here wanting to just relive those, because I want to honor you guys' relationship, because I know you've gotten very close to each other. When you're in a relationship that just you're not moving in the right direction. And I had this with a business partner that I was with. There's so much friction and it creates this negative friction energy that makes it hard to be yourselves, because you're worrying about what the other person is thinking, and you're trying to tiptoe around and make sure that you're making the right moves for the other person, and not allowing yourself to be who you were called to be. And I don't know if that rings true for you, but it rang true for one of my business relationships. Love the guy, nothing against him. It was just, we just had a lot of friction.
Yeah. And I think ultimately, I interviewed a good buddy today, a super successful guy. He said his word of the year, his theme of the year was light. He wasn't going to enter anything that felt heavy. Like, it's a force, it's a push. And I think if you assess opportunities and situations from that lens, I think you're going to do a lot of good in your life. I'm to a point where your negativity or if it's a thing, I just block you. And that's not even my personality, because I love everybody, but I just don't want it anymore. Yeah. There's a lot of people hurting out there. If you want to get better and you want to try, I'm all about it, man. I'm all day long. I listen to you for 3 hours. But if you're going to complain and you're going to bitch and you're going to not take action, I'm done. Like I told a client last year, I said, dude, we've been having the same conversation for 6 weeks. I said, either do something about it or find yourself a different coach. And he goes, just like that? I said, fucking yeah, just like that. And he wound up doing it and he's great. But I'm like, I'm not gonna have the same, like, dude, let's go. Let's take action. And nobody's telling you to get divorced. Nobody's telling you to get sober. What we're telling you to do is choose you and make sure that you're loving yourself and you're picking yourself and you're taking time for yourself. And if other people in your life fit inside you being the best version of yourself, awesome. But if they do not, then they need to be removed from your life.
Yeah. Kind of reminds me of where I was like last year after everything kind of just like shit, the market shit. And I was just like, dude, I was in such a bad headspace for so long. It was awful. And eventually I got sick of my own shit. I got sick of myself because I was like, dude, I'm sitting over here probably playing at like 20%. What the fuck am I doing? And then I had some periods where, you know, I just had to kind of sulk for a little bit, but eventually you can't do that forever. You can't like sit there and continue to walk through like that, like your own pity party and your own thundercloud over your head forever. Eventually you have to make a decision of what's next and start taking action. And when you do that and you develop great habits, eventually good things start coming to you. When that happens, you'll be like absolutely amazed that holy shit, look what just happened. And it sounds like that's kind of similar in a sense to what you went through with that.
100%. Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Who was your greatest supporter when you're going through all that?
A couple of different guys, but mainly a friend I've had since I was in high school, who's always picked me up from the depths. He's similar to me. He taught me a lot about sales and people. Um, he's a trip. I mean, he is. We have some crazy conversations. I think one of the things that he mentioned to me about 2 years ago, he said, for the first time in my life, he said, I feel like you're 100% grounded in who you are and you're firm in your vision. He goes, before you're just here and you're all over the place. And he goes, it's really nice to see you kind of dialed into what you want to do and everything like that. So it's awesome to know somebody for, you know, 25, 27 years and to see the evolution, right? And he couldn't be any happier about what's going on. And, we still have a lot way to go. And, I plan to, carve out a spot for him and give him the career that he's has a great career. He's a fucking top salesman and he loves it, but he does what he needs to do for his family, but he's not 100%, into it. And I'm looking forward to creating the space when we do start moving into Texas for him so he can kind of flourish at what he does.
Be more fulfilled.
Yeah.
What advice would you give somebody, maybe if they've gone through something similar or they're just walking through the fire, they're going through some adversity, some challenges in their life?
One of my favorite things to do is we have created something in the society where we always have to have the answer. Always got to have the next thing. We lose our job, got to get a job 2 hours later, all that stuff, right? I give people the permission to not make a decision for 48 hours. So if you have a big life decision or your life shit or whatever, you don't need to make a decision. 48 hours. Give it some air, give it some space, see what comes up, let it go. That gives yourself your permission to just be you and see what happens. And you might have a different viewpoint of it. When you pull back a little bit and zoom out of life, I think you're gonna find your answers really quickly.
So let's fast forward a little bit. Why don't you tell the listeners what you're doing now?
Yeah, so there's this book out there called Buy Them Build. It's a book about buying existing cash flowing businesses, over 10 years of existence, right? And so the stats pretty simple. Startups, 94% of startups fail. 94% of businesses that you buy that cash flow are successful.
Whoa.
So, yeah. So just a little bit of stat. And by the way, he did a lot of research on this, right? And so the basic premise is if you buy a business that already has existing customers and existing cash flow, it's easier to scale because you're not starting from zero. Plus, it's easier to get investors because there's cash flow that they can base it off of, and so on and so on. So here we are buying an HVAC and plumbing business that has never done any marketing, it has no CRM, it does everything on paper, outdated systems, hasn't the website hasn't been updated in 10 years, all these fucking things. So we're gonna put it on a CRM. We're gonna give it marketing and ads. We're gonna streamline the system. We're gonna put SOPs in. We're gonna put EOS in. We're gonna put CRM, and we're gonna change the business. I'm gonna grow it, and we're gonna turn this business. But now where it gets fun, and what people don't understand is two things. One, you say, "Oh my god, how do you buy a business?" Well, let's just say it wasn't me and my partners, and let's say you want to buy a $2 million business. Let's just say it does $2 million in revenue. You can get a loan from the SBA, and you would only have to put up about $230,000 to buy that $2 million business, right? Because you only have to put up 10% plus fees, and you get at like 6 to 8% or 6 to 9%. So boom, there you go. You're a business owner. You only takes 200 grand. Okay, but where it gets fun is, let's say the business I'm buying is 3.5 million and it does 600,000 in net profit, right? So the problem is that business will sell for 4 to 3 times what they make. So that business makes 500 grand. I've got to spend 2 million to buy the business, right? That's how these businesses are valued. Well, when you get above 2 million, those multipliers go to 5 to 10.
Oh,
So when you go to over to 5 million, those multipliers go to 15 and 20. So think about that. I don't got to go far to be able to sell the business for 12 to 20x.
oh shit.
So a $10 million business will sell for $100 million. Now that's net profit, but it doesn't take that much to get there. And so this is why it's so attractive, and this is why it makes so much sense. It's easier to get money, it's easier to scale, we have cash flow to work off of, so on and so on. So we've kind of homed in on home services for now, looking at recruiting businesses, but then also developing storage facilities, building houses around the community within this kind of vertical. So yeah, this is what we're going to focus on for the foreseeable future.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is one of my next itches that I have to scratch is buying and scaling businesses. So I'll call you when I get there. Right now, I'm working on a new opportunity with going into the commercial side of real estate and
Love
partnering up.
that. My buddy just made the switch. He loves every minute of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's been
Mm-hmm.
exciting. A lot of omens from my
Mm-hmm.
alchemist book, a lot of signs from God, as I believe in, pushing me that way. And I was like, oh shit, there is something here because it's thrown in my face.
Mm-hmm.
After everything happened last year with single family, I was just like, do I even want to do real estate anymore? Do I just want to go buy businesses, or like, what do I want to
Yeah.
do? I've always wanted to scratch this itch, so I'm scratching it right now, and we're moving
I love it.
forward.
I love it.
So, what inspired you to go into that? Because I know
The book Buy Then Build.
yeah, because for a while you were doing Airbnb
I
man.
just I'm just tired of real estate lenders. I'm just over it.
Touche.
It makes no sense. This whole last 2 years makes no sense. It's just I mean my buddy. It just took my buddy 8 months to close 2 deals.
What?
Yeah, I mean dude. We had 23 million worth of real estate fall out of contract in the same 3 week span in August. I'm just done. I'm done. I'm done with fake real estate charlatans. I'm done with lenders. I'm just done. I'm gonna go create my own money and then pour it back into real estate so I don't have to deal with anybody else.
Touche. Touche. Did you always want to buy businesses, or was that like
Mm-hmm.
something?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love it.
Heck yeah. What's been like your biggest challenge or hang up so far with doing that?
Um, I would say that I have enough psychology experience and I've coached enough people to understand that you can't you can't take everybody's emotional reaction as truth. Meaning that like a lot of these guys have never had personal development, they've never seen a therapist, they're emotional, they dealt with a lot of BS. You kind of have to take it with a grain of salt. So you can't get overworked up. And so I just have to check myself all the time to understand they're coming from a place of not knowing and not understanding that it's not directed at me for anything.
And you're talking the employees or the sellers?
Employees, clients, I mean, you name it, like customers. Yeah, they're just you we have a vision and I have to get them on board with my vision and they're gonna fight. Some of them are gonna fight, some are gonna be excited about it, and you just have to leave it at that.
Heck yeah. And you mentioned it earlier a little bit. So you went to college. Did you graduate from college or do you
No,
have a degree?
no, 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 no.
How long did you go into college before you dropped out?
3 different times. I probably did it for like 2.5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right on. Reason I ask that question is a lot of people, like you mentioned, they are preached to in school. You have to go to college, you have to get a stable job, invest in your 401k, retire, all that kind of stuff. And I ask that to everybody on this show because I want them to see that you can go to college if you really want to, but most of the people that have been on so far have never used their degree a day in their
Yeah.
life.
Agreed.
Ever.
Yeah.
What advice would you give somebody starting out in the buying and then building field?
I would go on Biz Buy Sell, and I would just look at listings. I think you have to understand the financial. There's a book called Simple Numbers, Big Profit. I think that people need to understand how to read a P&L. If that's the only thing you did for the next 6 months, if you can understand what a P&L, profit and loss statement, and what all the numbers mean and why they mean that way, it'll change your life.
So you said that simple numbers, big profit, and
Yeah.
also buy then build.
Yeah, it's no, yeah, but it's called the website's called Biz Buy Sell. It's the
Oh,
largest Biz Buy Sell.
yep. I was talking about the books, but yeah,
Yeah.
bizbuysell.com. I've taken a look at there. Is that where you guys bought yours, or did you find an owner direct to seller?
There's a no, we found it on a different website.
Okay.
I think yeah, different website.
Okay.
Yeah.
Through like a business broker.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. This is going to be a fun one. I'm curious to hear about this because you have been on the road for a long time. You
Yeah.
sold your house. You no longer, you don't have a house now, right? You have a home.
We're about to move back into one when it gets done remodeling. That the company's gonna own, but only because the RV parks aren't open here yet.
Okay.
Because it's cold. So
Touche. So you've been on the road for a long time. You've also been working that entire time, growing your coaching business, growing the podcast, doing the real estate stuff that you were doing before. Now this. How do you balance your personal and professional life?
I don't. That's the answer. I'm trying. The best thing I can do is I shift my week to Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday are my long days, and that's where I schedule my meetings. And then I try not to have meetings on Thursday and Friday. And that's been the easiest thing I can do. I just realized that I'm all in, all out. But I have 11 years to build as much as I want to build, and then I'll be 50, and the the things I will do or won't do are going to change. So right now we're just in building season.
Nice. What kind of hobbies and interests do you have outside of working?
I just love to travel. That's like our favorite thing. Travel, go hiking.
Love it. Because you guys went like around pretty much the entire country and then a little bit into
Mm-hmm.
Canada, right? Costa Rica.
No, we're gonna do Canada this summer.
That's this summer. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
How do you define success?
Something that you will never achieve
Really?
because success doesn't exist. because it's just made up in your mind.
Do you believe it's a
So
journey?
I do, and I think that you'll be successful when you walk off the planet because you've determined it for yourself. Somebody asked me the other day what excellence is. I said something that you will never ever achieve. It doesn't. It doesn't exist. Success is such a fucking stupid word.
I'll
Like,
tell you
why don't we
mine.
just call it? Why don't we just call it living? Like, you know.
That's kind of what mine is. My definition of success is um basically becoming everything that you can be, trying to trying to grow and be everything that you were called to be here on earth.
Okay, love it.
What is your purpose that keeps you going?
I just want to create jobs and impact people. It's like my number one need right now. So that's what we focus on. Um, it's alarming to me as I hire a bunch of people how bad bosses are and how many people go, I never had a boss like you that actually cares. And I'm like, oh God, that's a crime. And so I realized that I just have to establish what being a good owner of a business and a good boss looks like.
I like it. How has spirituality or faith played into your journey or your life thus far?
It plays a big part. It's ever revolving. For me, it's I grew up where I felt like church was a show. Meaning, I thought I was in a rich community. I thought people were showing up just so people that saw them at church, and so I have a kind of jaded view of the religion aspect of it. But spirituality, universe, all that stuff is something that I care about, and it's a forever journey for me in understanding all the aspects of that. And I it's something that we're working on.
I like it. I like it. So if you couldn't do what you did now, what else would you do for work?
Well, one of the things I would be a recruiter. I didn't know how much I would love hiring people. Uh, and I just love it. I would sling like you never seen before. They would make records about me. So we're still going to buy a recruiting firm. So I might be doing that anyway. But I tell you what, dude, I tell everybody this and I mean this wholeheartedly. And I'm so dead serious. It's not even funny. And Cassie's going to laugh her ass off. So I want to work at Waffle House as the grill cook from 12 o'clock to 8 a.m. in the morning. And I want to write a book about the people that come in there. Because you would have some fucking stories, bro.
That is hands down one of the most unique things I've ever heard.
She just rolled her eyes, the highest I've ever seen him. Yeah.
Wow. That leads me into piggybacking off of that. What's your favorite book?
Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill.
Dude, you're like the third or fourth person that I've interviewed that said that one, and it's a fantastic book. I think everybody should
Fantastic.
read it.
Yeah, I've read it like 5 times. It's amazing.
Who do you look up to?
Myself 10 years from now.
You like Matthew McConaughey?
Damn straight. That's where I heard it.
Love it. Two more questions. What is your final thought that you want to share with the listeners before we wrap up?
The only person that can determine where you're going is you. So listen to him.
All right. And if the listeners want to connect with you, learn more about you, where can they find you?
So you go to austinlinney.com, Linney. It has my podcast. It has all my stuff on there. You can hit me up on Instagram, Austin Linney. You can hit me up on Twitter, Austin Linney. Shoot me an email, send me a message. Happy to connect with anybody.
Awesome. Well, dude, that's been fun. Anything else you wanted to share? We all good to go?
No, sir. We're good.
Sweet. Thanks for coming on today.
You got it, my man. Thank you.